Welcome to Heber Valley Life Podcast, where we share the stories of the people and organizations working to strengthen the communities we call home. Today's guest is someone who has a life devoted to service, leadership, and caring for others. Dr. Steve Richardson has spent more than 27 years serving as a caregiver, counselor, and leader. Before stepping into his current role as CEO of the Christian Center Park City in October of 2024, Steve retired from the United States Air Force as a colonel and Protestant chaplain, where he supported military members and families through some of the most challenging moments of their lives. One of the programs that he developed, Marriage Care, was taught to more than 20,000 military members and achieved an extraordinary 99.4 efficiency rating. Today, Steve leads the Christian Center Park City, a humanitarian community resource center focused on meeting the basic needs and providing hope and helping individuals and families thrive. Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to jump into this marriage care first.
Yes.
Because, that is a huge influence. And military families are often known as struggling because they move around. You yourself moved your family around. We talked a little bit earlier about the different locations. But why was that something that you felt called to create this program and then just evangelize it?
Yeah. So I've been around the military since I was 3 years old. My dad became a chaplain when I was 3. He retired after I'd already been a chaplain for 12 years. We were the first fathers and son on active duty chaplaincy in the history of the military, Army, Air Force, Navy. But I had been around so many families. And as a kid, so many families who had struggled, the marriages struggled, and so I saw the kids struggle. And then as I became a chaplain and a caregiver, I saw the family struggle. I'd always been more focused on young people, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Those were fascinating and helping them find purpose and meaning in life. And then my boss, my second assignment said, hey, I'll get you, I'll recommend the assignment you want, but you have to say that you would be willing to go to the Army for 1.5 years and get your master's in marriage and family therapy. And I said, well, I don't really want to do that. I don't like counseling. And he said, no, I think you'd be good at it. I want you to write down, you'd be willing to do it. He was right. I ended up getting selected for it. I went down to Fort Hood, Texas. And Fort Hood, Texas in 2006 was the home of the 3rd Corps. It was the main deployment agency for Iraq and Afghanistan. It had a lot of trauma, a lot of heartache, a lot of marriages that were just in crisis in ways that I couldn't imagine at the time. And so I saw that for 1.5 years. I lived on Fort Hood. I worked on Fort Hood. I got my master's and worked in their counseling center for PTSD and for relationships. And after getting out of there, my dad had gone up to become a general and become the chief of chaplains of the Air Force. And he said, Steve, is there anything you would love to do? He said, you'll probably never, very rarely does anybody get a chance to have this opportunity. Yeah. So is there anything you'd like me to do? And I said, Dad, I'd love for you to start a marriage enrichment program because I've seen the dangers here. I've seen it all my life. If you could start one. He said, okay, but then you're helping to write it.
But he was in a position to actually, you had that vision that he was in the position.
Exactly. I had the vision. He had the authority. So he ended up actually organizing the group, bringing 12 of us in to help start write the program. 12 whittled down to 3, that whittled down to me being in charge of it. And that was well after he was out of it. But being able to meet with those, I traveled all around the world, trained 350 chaplains how to do marriage enrichment. I really had a passion to try to heal and support these marriages that were so wrecked by moving, so wrecked by lack of family resources. Every military person you meet, they are not near any extended family. They have nobody to watch their kids. I would have people coming to retreats that would say this is the first time they've been away with their spouse without the kids in 19 or 20 years. That was it. Military just don't get those opportunities. So trying to help couples heal from some of the difficulties, heal from the deployments, heal from some of the anxieties of the military. It was just a joy to be able to do that for so many years.
And we know that with a strong family, anything's possible. When you have that core strength, couples are stronger, people are better in their jobs, children are thriving better. It's all that nucleus.
It is. So, as a marriage therapist, being trained as a marriage therapist, I found out that marriage therapy is not trying to make better husbands or better wives. It's creating a stronger bond between two individuals so that the bond heals the individuals. So, if you ever go to marriage therapy and they're trying to fix you, that's not a good sign.
Right.
That's
It's coming
individual
together and maybe some compromises.
Right. Trying to create, I tell people that I counsel the space in between two people. If I can make that space small enough so that the intimacy, the communication, the transparency is stronger, then it will heal the individuals and they'll become more the people that they feel called to be and want to be in that relationship.
Well, earlier I said you have a lot of titles. You're a man with many titles, but your favorite title is
Yeah. I've got 3 boys. They all are raised in the military, just like I was raised in the military. They're all out on their own now, except for the youngest is in college at UCLA. But it's a joy seeing them starting their life and knowing that I am still dad, that I am as different role, but still very powerful role as they reach out to me, need help and need support, need advice. I love to be able to support them just as I've been supporting young people all my life.
I love that. I want to transition to your role as the CEO of the Christian Center. Yeah, 2 years. You're kind of getting your feet under you.
A year and a half. Yes. So technically a year and a half and about 15 days. But yeah, we're starting to get our feet under us. It's been nice. The Christian Center has been around for 26 years. And so I'm new to it, but it's been a part of this community for years and years and years.
Let's talk about the mission of the Park City Christian Center. For those that are listening that aren't aware, let's go through some of the services that they offer and why the Christian Center has expanded its resources to here in the Heber Valley.
Sure. So first of all, you got to know what makes the Christian Center special. So in order to understand the services, I go back to 1951, way before the Christian Center was invented. There was a guy named Carl Rogers who wrote a book called Person-Centered Counseling or Person-Centered Therapy. I don't remember the title exactly, but he postured that if counselors had genuineness, unconditional positive regard, and empathy, that those values treated to somebody else would give dignity and respect to the person that they were working for. And that relationship just by itself would be able to provide healing, be able to provide health, be able to provide growth. So it was all about you as the counselor showing genuineness, unconditional positive regard, and empathy, and the person feeling dignity and feeling respect.
Well, it's almost that human side.
Right. And in fact, it's called humanistic counseling.
Oh, wow.
It's all about the human, saying the human is, we want to treat them with that kind of respect. Well, fast forward to the Christian Center, it was the same exact principle. So that counseling has been, every counseling since then has been based on that foundation. And what we've done has been based on the same exact foundation, that we want people as they walk into the center, as they interact with our programs, to feel dignity, unconditional positive regard, empathy, genuineness, just that sense of dignity and respect with every one of our programs. So let's start with food insecurity. We talk about a step ladder and what we do. In the bottom rung, the step ladder is food insecurity. If people are hungry, it doesn't matter what you teach them or what you tell them or Christmas gifts you give them. None of those things are important if they're hungry. So we want them to feel food and feel secure in food, first of all. So we have a pantry here in Heber Valley. We have a pantry in the at Park City. We also have one at the Go Shoot Reservation. And we have mobile food pantries that go around. Every pantry we do, we want them to look like grocery stores. We have shopping carts. We have little figurines. We have things in the wall. We feature fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. If we run out of fruits and vegetables, I tell all my pantry managers, go out and buy more. We'll get the donations eventually. You've got to give people fresh food. We want them to not just live off cans. We want them to feel dignity and respect. So walk in, you'll see fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, fresh meats and cheeses and milks and eggs to people who would, they have to say, yes, we're in need. They sign an agreement there, but it's making them know that they're in a grocery store among people who really love them and care for them. Now, in our community, some people are nervous about coming to a food pantry. They're not even uncomfortable that we say our greatest enemy in our service, the Christian Center, is shame. We don't want people to feel shame. So if they don't feel confident going in the first time, we want to bring the care to them. So we have the mobile food pantries. We set up mobile food pantries here in Heber Valley once a month at different locations, and we try to make it as accessible as possible so people can see, yes, we care. We bring other nonprofits, we bring other services, whether it's from Park City or from Heber Valley, and making sure that they have every resource possible for people who have needs and are not sure where to go. Just recently, we realized there are some people that aren't even comfortable with the mobile food pantries. So now we're doing pantry at your door. That if you're not comfortable or if you have mobility issues, they're not able to get out of the house, they can't afford Uber Eats or some other, food delivery system, we're wanting to bring the food to them. So we don't want any excuse for people to not have healthy food and not feel that sense of dignity and respect.
One of the questions that comes to mind is, would people be surprised at who is coming at the group that you're servicing? Because I think sometimes we stereotype who that person might be. And yet I think in my own neighborhood, I know that there's a family that utilizes the services because it's an expensive place to live. And even though the dads are working, the moms are at home caring for small children.
Yeah, we have run into a lot of people with preconceived notions of who might be able to need our services. We've had it in food insecurity. We've had a lot in counseling, where people just assume because they have a title, because they have a job, okay, they can afford it. Well, sometimes people go through hardships. I have talked to so many people that give me this little testimony saying, I used to use the food pantry. I ask them, okay, used to, as in you don't need it anymore or you don't feel comfortable going. It's always, we don't need it anymore. So now I'm able to give back.
Yeah. So it really is that step up program.
It really is the step up to help somebody to be able to not need it. The goal is for them not to have to come back in the future, but to know that it's there if they need it. So a lot of our people have had medical issues. A lot of people have gotten in debt from medical issues or not being able to pay their bills, had a traffic accident or something that just...
For job flexibility.
Right
now, we are a very seasonal environment of employment. And I even had a family member that 2 weeks, he was super excited about a winter jobs. And without snow, cancellations, reservations went down. And all of a sudden we realized how we are so tied to the ski industry. And when the snow doesn't come, it's affecting people's jobs.
In Park City, we had a number of people that came to Park City for the snow, for the skis, to work in the ski lifts. And then Vail and Deer Valley didn't have any days they could work because they weren't open. So they had to come to the food pantry. And they just didn't expect that. We have a number of people who work snowplows during the winter. And they have gardening and landscaping during the summer and snowplows in the winter. Well, you can't do either this winter.
Right.
And so they've been really struggling. And we just found so many people that, he wouldn't expect. I've had people show up in pretty nice cars and say, I need food pantry services. We talk to them a little more and find out that nice car they have, they've been living in. That's their home.
Wow.
That's all they've got. And so it's so easy to judge and say, oh, I see somebody walking out of the food pantry and going into their, 15-year-old Mercedes. Yeah, but that's...
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
That's it. They sell that and they're on the street. So we just try to provide support to anybody.
Well, let's talk about those other programs that you offer. So obviously the free food pantry, eviction prevention assistance, mental health counseling, seasonal family support programs, and the Native American Outreach Initiative, which I'm glad you explained that it was helping the Goshen tribe, because I thought we don't have a lot of Native Americans in this area. So it's an outreach to a community that is less served because they're less seen.
Right. It's so we are only focused on Summit County and Wasatch County. That is all we do. Some people will travel to us, especially for mental health counseling, because we have world-class mental health counseling at very affordable prices. But our focus is here, except about 15 years ago, well before I got here, we found out about a tribe that nobody else was caring for. They live about an hour and a half south of Wendover, maybe an hour south of Wendover. And there was no other services that they had. They were struggling, and so we decided to go out and see if we could support. It turned out they needed a ton of help, and they still do. So we brought a pantry there. We travel there every month to visit with their people. We bring their kids to Park City for a ski day. We do a camping trip with them during the summer. We do a service project with them where we planted a garden 2 years ago, just trying to give them that same dignity and respect that we want for our people here.
Yeah, what a great adoption of a community, though.
Yeah.
I love that. Let's talk about the funding, because I think a lot of people don't understand. As a not-for-profit, You do everything you can with donations, but you also have provided this thrift store that is a great cycle of revenue, collecting donations, sorting through. Last summer, you expanded, and I think you were there for the ribbon cutting.
I was.
And an expansion of the services that are offered here in Heber Valley. But talk me through funding and how you make this happen.
So you're right. About half of our funding comes from the thrift store. Half of the funding comes from individual donations. We get a little bit of state help for eviction prevention, but that's about it. We get no federal funds, very little state funds. It is local. We are all about this community. We do not want to be reliant on federal funding. So people look at our thrift store and they say, well, you got it for free. And that's true, sort of, except that we have a lot of employees. In fact, people don't realize we have 100 people that work at the Christian Center. 100 people trying to support and provide services for 60,000 visits every year to either the pantry or different programs that we do, 65,000. So there's a lot of people we're trying to serve. But at the Heber Valley Thrift, it's amazing. We doubled the size of the store. We still have some things that are incredibly affordable. We try to keep the prices affordable. Our maximum is 30% of resale. So if it's a brand new item that was given to us and tag still on it, it's 30% of what it would have cost.
That's not a bad markup. Most people are Keystone.
Yeah, so 70% off is pretty good. And then we go down from there if it's been worn, if it's been frayed. We want to give people a value, but at the same time, we also want to be able to keep our stores, our pantries open, our counseling center open, and our services open. And so this is how we fund about half of those. So I know people walk in and say, oh, I want everything for $1. I want that, brand new mountain bike for $1. Just give it to me. And well, we do love giving away things. We value that. We see the stores as a ministry. We see the stores as a way to give back to people. If people have a need, the way we do it is we give them gift cards to the stores. So that way they have the same dignity and respect to be able to shop just like anybody else. If they have a problem in their house and need furniture or need mattresses, absolutely. We're trying our best to give away things that are to people who are really in need. But if people are just looking for a bargain, we just want to give them a bargain. We're not trying to do free to a bargain hunter because that's how we are able to provide services to people who have real huge needs in our community.
And donations, you're open for donations Wednesday, Fridays, and Saturdays.
Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays. Yep.
And I sometimes, I had the opportunity to donate on multiple occasions. And it's interesting because your staff is very welcoming and warm. They're willing to carry stuff in. But I think the sorting process has got to be overwhelming.
It is. And we do get donations, obviously, that we can't sell, that nobody would want. We want to take them as much as we can, as long as it's not a health and safety risk. There's some things that we'll donate to Salt Lake City because they're able to have a need for it as well. We have an organization in Salt Lake City that sends some stuff to Africa. We want to upcycle or we want to recycle everything that we can. So we try to take everything that we can. We try to use it as best we can. We really are so appreciative of every single donor.
Well, let's talk about that. So how do people donate? Is there an online? Do you have events? What's the process for donations?
Yeah, so we don't have the big events like a lot of the nonprofits do. We didn't want to hire extra people to do a giant gala or something. We did something for our 25th anniversary, but it was way too much work. We don't want to do it again to our 50th anniversary. But in the most part, we just try to let people know the need and the impact that their donation makes. So if people are able to sign up for a couple of hours a month or one-time donation to be able to sign up online, we have the Christian Center Park City website, ccofpc.org, and people can sign up there. And then we also love it when people just bring their items that they would have otherwise sold, but it would have been a hassle to sell on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. They don't want people talking them down. Just use it. We're able to give you a receipt saying that you used it. You can use that for your taxes, but it went to some good. We figure out a way to do good with the things that people donate, whether it's money or things. And when I got here, my number one priority was integrity. I want us to be completely transparent. I want people to be able to look through our books. They can look through what we do. They can walk into receipt and see how we're trying to treat their items with respect and value because we're placing that same value on our customers and our clients. So we give that kind of transparency and say, hey, look at us, see us, make sure that you agree with what we do. And if you do, we want to be partners with you.
I love that. One of the things that you and I talked about before we started recording was the support that you've seen from Heber Valley and just at all walks of life. That so often we think only the wealthy are going to truly donate.
Mhm.
And your experience has not been that.
Right. In Park City, I would say that's pretty close. It's mostly the wealthy. There are others that like to donate, but we've been so impressed with Heber Valley over this last year. So in this last year, especially, we noticed that there were a number of programs where Heber Valley equal donations at Park City, but many, many more people donating. So a lot more working families, a lot more families that come here for recreation or sports or just the experience of life. They're wanting to give back. And maybe it's that $5 or $50 a month, but it adds up so that I think it was Operation Hope. We not only had more kids and more parents from Heber Valley, which is pretty normal for us now, to have more people from Wasatch County than Summit County. But we, for the first time in our history, got more donations from Wasatch County than Summit County for that program. Now, some of the overall things were obviously still very dependent on Summit County. But from some of those programs that are really impactful in Wasatch, they have stepped up and done some amazing things. We're so thankful for the community.
And I remember when your team reached out to me for Operation Hope and said, we want to collect enough toys and gifts and Christmas items to service 700 to 800 children as a first year program. And I thought, wow, that's really ambitious.
Right. And now it's 1,900 that we did this last year. 1,900 kids, over 1,000 kids from Wasatch. But to go back to the idea of dignity and respect, I said the first step is food insecurity. The second step is hope in times of hardship. So that's where something like the Operation Hope comes in. And Operation Hope is one of the reasons why I quit the military to join the Christian Center. So I was at 24 years. I had just made colonel. I didn't need to get out. The rest of my jobs were going to be pretty fun, just traveling around. I was excited about the next 6 years in the military until at 30, I was supposed to retire. And I saw what the Christian Center of Park City was doing. I saw the impact in Heber and Summit, and especially Operation Hope. So it was December that I was looking at this job, and I had just talked to a young man who wanted to buy Christmas gifts for his kids, and he couldn't afford it. And we had this angel tree program that a lot of people know about. You write 3 toys on a card, and somebody grabs the card off a tree and buys toys for their kids. And so I said to the young man, hey, John, just write down 3 presents here. I'll get it on the tree, and somebody will buy gifts for your kids. And he said, Chaplain, that's the problem. I don't want somebody else to buy gifts for my kids. I'm their dad. Remember, the best title I have is dad or mom. I'm their dad. I want to be the one that gets my kids Christmas gifts, and I can't do it this year. I can't afford it. And so at that moment, I realized that the service, the dignity and respect had nothing to do with the kids. Operation Hope isn't for the kids. Operation Hope is for the parents. See, we gather up 6,000 to 8,000 presents so that parents can shop and feel the dignity and respect of shopping for their kids' toys. We got the donations from Mattel and from Skull Candy so that parents can have choices. We have volunteers come in and wrap the gifts and make them beautiful so that parents can proudly show these gifts to their kids and give these gifts and say, I, as a dad, I, as a mom, was able to do something for my kids. It's a parent program. It's not a kid program. It's an opportunity for them to feel dignity, respect, and not have shame, and to know that they are valuable.
So glad that you shared that with us because it does shed a different light on what you're donating to and who you're donating for.
Yeah.
So good. I want to transition to something that's been really sticky the last couple of months.
Sure.
I had an opportunity to attend the Wasatch Latino Coalition meeting. I met Jaime, he's Upper Food Services, and he talked about this delivery program.
Yes.
And it really opened my eyes. You see things on the news and you hear chatter, but as a Caucasian person, you're a little bit removed. And I speak some Spanish, and so sometimes I feel like, I want to better relate to my Hispanic friends. And it was such an eye opener, this conversation during the coalition meeting about ICE, and that we truly have members of our community that are concerned for their well-being, and they're afraid. They're afraid. And so you mentioned, you're now offering delivery services so that those food scarcities aren't felt. But it's a weird place right now. And help me understand what Christian Centers are doing to try to alleviate some of those fears.
So the first thing I did, one of the first actions I did when I got the Christian Center was promote Jaime. Jaime was a manager. I promoted him to be part of our executive team, to be a deputy director. And the goal was to make sure that everybody had a voice, that there wasn't a disconnect, that he was on an equal table. I have my little round table. It's rectangle, but I call it the round table so that everybody has an equal voice between the 8 in our executive team. And Jaime's there every single week talking about the needs of the people that are immigrant here or that are not necessarily as English, as comfortable with English as others. About a little under half of our clients are English as a second language, I would say. Some of them might have been born here. Some of them might be immigrants. Some of them might be recent, or they have a green card, or they have a visa. There's a lot of different reasons why people are here, and they come here in order to make a better life for their family.
That's interesting. It's even less than half.
Right. It's only about 49%.
Perception is the Christian Center is there to service that community.
Right. No, we do about half of that community. We're here to service everybody who's in need. And, I think about our counseling center. Our counseling center serves everybody, from people who pay full price, which is still fairly affordable in the market, our full price at our counseling center, to people who pay in a sliding scale with financial aid down to $4 a session. But they all get the exact same service. And we have millionaires that come to our counseling center wanting counseling from our clinicians, because we have mostly licensed clinicians. They're all world class. We have a beautiful setting. We have beautiful couches and chairs. We want to make sure that some people come to us, they can get counseling as good as they would get anywhere else in the world. But we provide that same service to people who don't speak English. So we have 2 bilingual counselors, hoping to add a 3rd soon. We're making sure that everybody feels that same dignity and respect. So people would see us as just an immigration thing. No, we're an entire community. We're here for everybody. But there's nobody that will feel unwanted or uncared for through the Christian Center. We want to make sure everybody, regardless of religion, faith, ethnicity, language, background, status, whatever it is, we are going to make sure they feel loved, they feel supported, and we're able to help them step up that step ladder to try to reach a better life.
It's such a cyclical thing. You've got employees that may have been through that STEP program that are now working for you.
We do.
But you also rely on the community to come and really shop to keep that flow of not just donations, but revenue coming through the organization.
Yep. And we have a lot of people in need that shop just so they can afford things that they need. But you're right. We have a lot of a lot of our employees that were customers first. I would say probably at least a third, maybe a half of our employees or more were customers. Found out what we did. Some of them became volunteers. So Jaime is a great example. He loves telling his story. He was a customer first. He was so thankful for being a customer. In his culture, he does not like to get without giving back. So he became a volunteer. Eventually, as a volunteer, he was struggling to find a job. And so the manager gave him a part-time job. He was so thankful for the part-time job. He worked so hard. He cared for the community. We were able to move it to full-time, then to assistant manager, and then the manager, and now the executive team. And that's what we want to be able to do for people, is get them that sense of value and help them to have a better life.
I love the idea of meeting people where they are.
Yes.
And that seems to be something that your organization prides themselves on, which is why you're offering the delivery service. That was one of the conversations we had at the coalition meeting, was 70 families are now in need, whether they're disabled or not able with transportation, or just this fear that they have. What have they done? And they haven't done anything wrong.
Right. That's what people don't understand. I'll use an example that one of my employees has a green card. She's had a green card for 4 years, a professional college graduate, just an amazing individual. And she had to go to Canada for a weekend, for a trip with her family. And she was terrified to come back because she had heard all of the stories, all the things about people that have green cards and how it could be flagged or how she could have problems get back in the country. And she was constantly talking to me, making sure that she could get back in the country with a legal green card. People who have visas or are doing asylum, they're hearing these stories about this asylum country or this country not being allowed to do asylum soon until they have legality. They've heard stories about people who went through the lawyer process and yet the lawyer was fake. We have one who got here on a fake lawyer, and luckily they found a good one since then. Now they're here legally and doing great, but they were struggling for a little bit because the lawyer had tricked them and then ran away with their money.
Well, and these are vulnerable people.
So many vulnerable.
They really want to put their trust in the right people that got them burned.
And they've heard the stories. We have family members who have been sent back to different countries because there wasn't a comma or there wasn't a period. At least that's what they're being told, that somebody made a small error on their paperwork. And so they're hearing that story. And of course, English is their second language. How do they know their paperwork has the right signature in the right place? They just don't. And it's such a struggle. We have so many great partners throughout this community to try to help people, but they're still very scared. And it takes a long time to get paperwork legally done here, to go through the system. It can take years. And so during those years, people are afraid that somebody is going to say, oh, no, this was signed in the wrong place. You're going to a country that you haven't been to. We have people that have been here 20 or 30 years. They were brought here as children, brought here as teenagers, and they just don't know another life. They don't know the country. And so they hope that all their paperwork is right, but they're even afraid to ask, because if they ask, then they could get flagged. And so people are just scared. We're just wanting to make people feel loved.
What is something that we can do as a greater community? I think about stereotypes and the language barrier. What's your best advice for people that want to help?
First of all, learn a couple words in their language. Predominantly it's Spanish. If you can learn a few words, I'm trying my best to learn. It's not my gift, but I'm trying. I know a lot of people are trying to learn English and they're trying to communicate, but to show respect and dignity by just being able to say hello, to say, how are you, to try to interact, and then realize that the people who are here, they're not trying to be different. They're trying to be a part of the community. They want to be the part of the community. It's tough when you're older and you're fleeing somewhere that was really dangerous or difficult. You just want a better life for your kids or your grandkids. It can be really, really difficult. And so that empathy that I talked about at the very beginning, remember the genuineness, the unconditional positive regard, and empathy. Back in 1951, they said that was valuable and it's still valuable to us today. So what can our community do here? Have genuineness. Be real with people. Show unconditional positive love. Show that you care and have empathy. Just feel the little bit of their emotions and realize they want to be a part of that community. They want to help others. They're some of the most generous, most kind, most wonderful people you could ever meet. But a lot of them also feel scared and hurt. And I will tell you, from being 25 years in the military, when people are scared, their walls come up. I did 7 months in Afghanistan during the war zone in 2009. It was dangerous. My commander got killed. So my privates got killed. So my boss was hurt or killed in a roadside bomb. People were scared. And when they're scared, I see the fear first and realize when they get mad at me and they're yelling at me as the chaplain and they're just looking at what I'm going to say wrong or what I'm going to do wrong, I realize it's out of fear. And if I can make people realize that I'm there to help them and there to love them, then their walls will come down and I'll see the real person. You may not see the real person right away. Be patient. These are people who really want to be loved and want to love. It's just fear is so powerful right now. So if we can show them that unconditional positive regard, that empathy, that genuineness, it'll really do huge things for our community.
Steve, it's so touching. You are the right guy for the job.
I hope so. Every day I wonder it. I'm trying. I am not a fundraiser, but I love this community and I love this mission so much that every day I just try to remind people that we can do this together.
It's been so good just listening, and understanding better the Christian Center, the purpose, and the funding mechanism. Because I think as a community, we may be just dropping off because we're cleaning up closets or cycling something through, and we just feel like, oh, this is a good place to get rid of it. But to actually understand that donation is doing good, I think as a community we need to take that one more step. We need to look beyond items and really look at the people. And I think that's such an important part of just a community overall. I appreciate the social services that the Christian Center is providing, because we really don't have a lot of government agencies here in Wasatch County that are meeting those needs. And I feel like the Christian Center has become that community center to meet the needs of those that are here. Often we don't realize those people that need it. And I think it's important that we open our eyes and see people for who they are. And I love that you're meeting their needs where they are.
Yeah, meeting people at their point of need.
Yeah.
We love doing it. And we just are so thankful for this community. The entire Wasatch County has been just so thankful and such great partners. And we're looking for more people to drop off a gallon of milk or two at the pantry to be able to give it.
I see Janet always on social media listing fresh fruit, maize, bread, milk, the staples.
And it's every single day. Some days we'll get somebody dropping off a ton, but it's gone the next day or 2 days later. And then, of course, donating money is always the best, because then we can buy the stuff.
Yeah.
My managers know to do that. But we just want to be more a part of this community. We're getting ready to start mobile counseling, to bring a counseling van, to set it up as a counseling center so that we can have counseling in different areas, so we can bring more counseling here. Our third step is counseling and making sure we have mental health services for everybody in need. But then our final step, we call it a 4-step system. The final one is generational generosity, teaching our kids, teaching our family members to give back. Whether it's donating their old toys they're not using anymore, whether it's donating a little bit of time for Operation Hope or Back to School Basics, or right now we're gathering all the Easter baskets to give away to kids that wouldn't normally give Easter baskets. Well, you get 1,500 Easter baskets. But just teach your kids what it means to give back. We can really transform this community.
As we wrap up, Steve, is there anything that we haven't covered? I feel like it's been such a good, deep conversation about the needs and services that you offer.
Yeah, there are worlds of things we haven't covered. And if anybody is interested and just wants to know more about what we do, wants to meet some of our people, you can stop by the Heber Valley Thrift and talk to Valeria or Rocio, who are the managers there, that can show you around and tell you more about what we do. Or you can come up to Park City and I'll give you a tour. I'll show you around and show you how we do what we do and how we make people feel valuable and make them feel like they really can make a difference in this world.
I love the dignity part of that. Steve, thank you for sharing your story and for the incredible work that you and your team are doing to support individuals and families in our community. Organizations like the Christian Center of Park City remind us that communities are stronger when we work together and when we support each other, but we create pathways for people that find hope and dignity, like you said, and thrive. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us for another episode of Heber Valley Life Podcast, where we celebrate the people and organizations. We're so grateful for Gordon Law, for this beautiful studio that we meet in, and for Heber Valley Life magazine that is really highlighting the stories and people in our community. Steve, thank you for what you do, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.